Dimasepala kahare ho naha ya Afrika Borwa di kahare ho mathata ditjhelete, dihlahlobo tse ditjhelete di senotse seo. Tshebeletso ya Lekgetho Afrika Borwa etla thonya sehlopha se tsebang ka tsa lekgetho. Motswedipapadi Rassie o phatlaladitse sehlopha setlang ho tobana le New Zealand. Ere ke amohele mmohi ke thope ya Mokoatle. Toropo ya Cape Town ke yona fela hara di metro e fumaneng tekolo ditjhelete e hlwekileng. Sena se ne se tlalehwa ke mohlahlobisisi wa ditjhelete kapa dibuka tsa ditjhelete wa kakaretso tsa Kane Maluleke. Maluleke o ile a teka tlaleho ya hae ka pele ho maloko a palamente.
I'd like to just highlight a little bit on the metros. What we found is that in this year, and just to give you the historical account of the outcomes for metros, this year we've only got one clean audit amongst the metros, that is the city of Cape Town. The city of Ekurhuleni was a clean audit last year. It's moved back into unqualified with findings, having had some trouble with procurement issues. And they are now sitting in the unqualified space alongside City of Johannesburg, eThekwini, Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. Nelson Mandela Bay moved out of qualified to unqualified, having attended to some financial statements issues that they were struggling with the previous financial year. The qualified audit opinions amongst metros are Mangaung, Buffalo City, and City of Tshwane. City of Tshwane moved out of adverse audit opinion the previous financial year, and they've moved up to qualified with findings. We're finding that metros struggle with controls over compliance, especially on procurement and contract management, but they also struggle with service delivery information. 75% of metros are unable to produce reliable service delivery reports. And as I said, these are the metros or institutions that should be able to hire the type of skills to acquire the type of information systems that help them collate the data that allows them to compile credible financial statements as well as credible performance reports. We're finding that metros need support to build capacity. As strange as
Maluleke o re ho hloka botsitso ka hare ho dipolotiki ke hona ho qhumisitse bongata ba dimasepala tse kgolo hore di sebetse ka mokgwa ona o futsanehileng.
We find that the political instability that often confronts the administration of metros has the direct impact of weakening those institutions. And weak institutions will always struggle to protect leakage, or rather to protect public resources. They'll always struggle to have the type of reliable and predictable controls and systems that make for a well-run institution. And we've seen the direct impact of weakened metros on the lives of citizens.
Mohlahlobisisi wa dibuka tsa ditjhelete o fane ka setshwantsho se tetebetsang sa maemo a dimasepala tse 257 ka hare ho naha. A bolela ha dimasepala fela tse 34 e le tsona tse fumanweng ka dibuka tse hlwekileng. Masepala tse 26 di hlaha profenseng ya Western Cape.
The provincial outcomes, which I won't dwell on too much, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. I'm happy to engage with them if there's a particular appetite for. I want to just highlight a couple of messages here. The 34 clean audits, 20 of them are in the Western Cape, and that's been the case for a number of years, where the concentration of clean audits tends to be in the Western Cape. We've seen some encouraging improvements in the outcomes profile for Eastern Cape and for KZN. And in both instances, it's mostly because the provincial executive made it their business to deal with poor audit outcomes for municipalities, whether it was in terms of advocacy, whether it was in terms of monitoring, and often it was in terms of support for municipalities to get better from an outcomes point of view. There are some provinces where clean audits remain very scarce, the Free State and the Northwest in particular, and Limpopo has lost the clean audits it used to have. But Free State and the Northwest, there's something of a drought of clean audits, and that's been the case for many, many years. And the Free State and the Northwest are where you'll find high numbers of disclaimer audit opinions, as well as a tendency to not submit financial statements. Fortunately, the provincial executive in both provinces has driven improvements, especially around submissions, as well as on disclaimers. So we're seeing a movement in the right direction there. But we can come back to the profile of the provincial stories if you'd like to. In our general report, the last section is dedicated to giving you a page and a half of a story about each and every province, so you can have a sense of what sits behind these numbers and the arrows pointing up and the ones pointing down.
Dimasepala hangata di tsejwa ka ho itshetleha ho dihlopha tse ditsebi nakong eo le ikamahanyang le statemente tsa ditjhelete ebile Maluleke o buile ka mokgwa ona tabeng eo.
Partly because of these weaknesses around skills and discipline and culture, we find that there's ongoing reliance, over-reliance on the use of consultants to compile financial statements. And this is a message we would have issued many times before, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'll give some good news. Following a number of messages over the years about why this is unsustainable, why this is intolerable, a number of provinces have responded, a number of municipalities have responded. So the amount of money being spent by municipalities for this purpose has reduced from 1.63 billion last year to 1.35 billion in the 2023 financial year. For the first time in the 11 years we've been tracking this number is moving in the right direction. There is a profile there which will show you which provinces are doing better and which ones not so much. The slide on the right, the right-hand side part of the slide highlights a key message, which is that the audits with clean audits, the municipalities with clean audits still use consultants, but to a much less extent. They use them for specific technical issues. The ones that over-rely and spend the greatest amount of money are the ones with the disclaimer, audit opinions, the adverse, and the qualified. And so it tells us still about the lack of skills, the lack of discipline, the lack of consequences. It also tells us that the attention that we pay to helping municipalities at least submit financial statements, get out of disclaimers, move out of qualified, that attention must be matched with attention to getting them to build their own institutional capabilities. Because if we don't invest on that, this support that's offered will always have a very short-term benefit in that at least audit outcomes look better, we all feel a little bit better, but then underneath it, we're not building the capability that municipalities require.
Rethabile ba belaelwa ba bararo ba tshwere ka ho utswa leruo. Letsholo la seponesa le neng le tsamaiswa ke province ya Northwest seterekeng sa Ngaka Modiri Molema le bileng Sanesof, Stilfontein le Pudimwe. Le lekala la ho utswa ha meruo le diphoofolo tse kotsing le qhautsi ba belaelwa ba bararo ka ho utswa leruo le ho fumanwa ka leruo le ho belaelwang ha ile la boshodu. Mmolli wa seponesa Northwest Brigadier Sabata Mokgwabone wa nama.
Go be go a sejanaga sa ba belaelwa se seneng se goga kolotsana se ile sa emisiwa mme ge itlhelwa ba pegile dikgomo di le robedi tsa dibonsmara mme ban ba emisiwa jalo ko motseng wa Witbank gaufi le Sanesof. Mme go no ga lemogiwa ha bana ba botsolodiwa gore ba ne ba sena dipampiri tsa go bontsha gore leruo le ke la gamang le go bontsha gore ba na le tetla gore ba le tsamaise. Ka jalo go latela se ba ne ba feleletsa ba bua gore dilo tse ba di utswitse ko polasing ko Megdol. Ka jalo ba ne ba lelwa ke ditshipi mme dikgomo tsone tsa isiwa ko poundeng ko Lichtenburg go emela gore mongwe wa tsone a tle go di supa. Ka jalo mapodisa ba ne ba gapa sejanaga sa ba belaelwa e bong Fort Ranger ga mmogo le yone kolotsana tse go belaelwang tse di dirisiwa tota go diriwa bosenyi mme ba latofadiwa bone e bong Aaron Kolobe ye le mongwe wa koloi ga mmogo le trailara ga mmogo le sedupi Mantlonyane le Tshwarelo Kobokwe ba tlhageletse mo pele ga kgotlatshekelo ga magistrato wa Sanesofo kgwedi e tlhola malatsi a 26 mme ba neelwa beili ya sekete mongwe le mongwe wa bone ka jalo ba tla tlhagelela gape mo pele ga kgotlatshekelo ga kgwedi ya Diphalane tla be tlhola malatsi a 10. Mme letsholo le le lebisitse gape ke gore go neelwane ka dikotlhao tebang le batho ba leng ba ikgatolositse molao o itsagaleng jaaka gore ke Animal Identification wa 2002, mme dikotlhao tseo tsotlhe di 69. Mme godimo ga moo gape go ile ga lebellwa mahelo a farologane go akaretsa dikampa di le 3 le kampa e le nngwe e leng gore ke e tlhakanetswe le meraka. Mme dilo tse maeto a na dirwa mo tikologong ya Kabe, Makgobisitata, Mayejane, Khunwana ga mmogo le motse wa Matshepe. Mme mo kgetseng e ikemetseng ko thoko Sipho Simelela ga mmogo le Mzimkhulu Simelela le bone ba bone molato le go atlholwa kgwedi ene tlhola malatsi a 19, mme ba tlholelwa bogodu jwa leruo ga mmogo le go fitlhela ba tshwere leruo le go belelang gore le utswitswe, mme bosenyi bo bone ke bwa Ngwanatsele ka ngwaga wa 2022. Mme Sipho Simelela o ne a tlholelwa madi a kanang ka R75,000 tsa diranta kgotsa dingwaga di 10 ko ntlo lefitlhwana tebang le bogodu jwa leruo. Mme o ne a neelwa gape kotlhao ya R7,000 tsa diranta kgotsa dingwaga di 5 tsa go fitlhela a tshwere leruo le go belelang le utswitswe. Mme dikotlhao tse ga di kitla di tsamaela gongwe. Mme go ya ka karolwana ya 97 ya Criminal Procedure Act ya 1997, Mzimkhulu ene katlholo ya go ene a beelwa ko thoko nakwana sebaka sa dingwaga di le 5, mme se dirwa gore a tla kgone go ka neela mongongoregi kgotsa motswasetlhabelo mo kgetseng e madi a kanang ka R45,000, mme seo se tshwanetse go diragala mo dikgweding di le 4 go tloga ka nako e go ne go ntshiwa taelo e. Ka jalo bobedi jo bo ne bo neelwa kotlhao tse yana morago gore go bege gore e ne a re ka Diphalane a tlhola malatsi a 11 ko polaseng e itsagaleng jaaka gore ke Kale teng ko Khayakhulu gaufi le Madikwe. Ba ne ba feleletsa ba thiba dikgomo go tswa mo nageng ba di isa ko lesakeng la bone, mme kante ba ne ba bonwe ke badisa. Mme mapodisa le baagi ga mmogo le bang ba leruo ba ne ba ya ko bobeding jo go leka go batla dikgomo tsa bone, mme go begwa ga bobedi jo bo ile ba kolopa ka matlapa. Mme ka ntlha go letsogo la molao le letelele ba latofadiwa ba ile ba feleletsa ba tshwerwe ka kgwedi ya Sedimonthole ga ene tlhola malatsi a 12 gone ka ngwaga wa 2022. Mme re sa le mo tlatsa mo komisenara wa porofense e bong Major General Dintletse Molefe yo a ikarabelang mo go tsa matseka o a kgotse setlhopha se ga mmogo le baagi go ba dirile mmogo go netefatsa gore ko bofelong ba samagana le dilo tsa bogodu jwa leruo.
Mo re ke behetseo mo re kene go kgwebo le yona ya latela. SARS e tla thonya sehlopha se tsebang ka tsa lekgetho. Tshebeletso ya Afrika Borwa ya Lekgetho Afrika Borwa e phatlaladitse poso e ntjha ka Mantaha ya ho thonya feme ya dihlopha kapa sehlopha sa ditsebi ka lekgetho bakeng sa dilemo tse 5. Sena se bolela ha SARS hang e tlile ho kgona ho fumana ho phunyeletsa kapa phunyeletso ho ba dikelello tse tjhatsi tsa ditsebi tsa private ka hare ho naha ho ba thusa ho fumana ba sa lefe lekgetho ba tla lantshwana le ba sa ikamahanyeng le taba tsa lekgetho. Poso ena ha wa hlaka hore sehlopha sena e tla ba maloko a makae a tlang ho kgethwa. Le ha o le jwalo, sehlopha sa maloko se ka nna sa romela ditokomane tsa ditsebi tse ka fihlang ho 88 e ka ba ho tloha ho poso ya junior ho isa ho ya senior tax professionals. Moiliona kgweba rona re ke be mona ka bokgosanyana ba teng re phethele ka dipapadi. West Indies o tlile di-Proteas ho T20. West Indies e mathile ka tlholo ya diwikete tse 8 hodimo ha Afrika Borwa papading e ileng ya sitiswa ke pula e fedileng ka dintlha tse 3-0 ho lethathama la matjhaba la T20 maobane. Ya ileng a bula papadi ho West Indies le Shy Hope ho fumane dirane tse 42 ho dibolo tse 24 ha Nicholas Puran yena ke dirane tse 35 mme he ha batla theha motheo wa bona wa tlholo lebale la Brain Lara Toroba. Tlholo ebile entle ho sehlopha sa West Indies se ileng sa ntshuwa ho mohope wa lefatshe wa T20 ke naha ya Afrika Borwa papading e bileng teng kgweding ya Phupjane. Rethabile Rassie o phatlaladitse sehlopha se tlang ho tobana le New Zealand. Sehlopha sa di-Proteas se tla tobana le New Zealand Johannesburg. Rassie o entse diphetho tse robong ka hare sehlopha se ileng sa hlola Wallabies mane Perth ka 30-12 mme Vese o latuwe ho tswa matsatsing a hae mo a neng a kginnwe nakwana ba motsamaisa mmoho le Peter Steve du Toit le Rian Nortje. Salman Murati a keke a kena mme a phelele fasi o tla kena. Diloko tse ding tse sa fumaneheng bakeng sa kgetho ena ke RG Snyman, Franco Moset, Lord Dijaga le Jean Klein. Peter Steve du Toit yena o tla fetela lehlakoreng la ho ba scrum yena le Nortje. Havese a tla eba morao le mokaptene le Siya Kolisi le Eben Itsebeth mme Jason Dixon ya tswang Timalong. Mohe ke dipeha mona le tsena tse dipapadi bile ke pheletswa ditaba tsa thapameng ka jeno lo fitlhela kwetlang hape nna le mefo wa ditaba ratehang re re ho wena e tsheu kgotso.